Hi everyone, it's Caroline and I'm back with another process video. This one's for a layout called Every New Beginning. As I start this out, I've got the layout turned over so you can see the back side of it. There's lots of journaling that I wanted to cover and I didn't want to compromise. I didn't want to figure out a way to hide it, so I just decided I was going to print everything on the back side. I may or may not put a layout on the other side of that to hide it. Um, it's not in any way personal, it's just long, but it's also not, you know, you have to read the journaling to understand the picture on the front side. It's just my thoughts of what was going on at that time and how proud I am of my daughter at this point. So we had, oh, by the way, the ampersand was from the Studio Calico kit, and I just used a cotton ball to put down some stickles. I went through my glitter. I chose not to use Martha Stewart or the Silhouette glitter. I don't know where that vial came from. So I don't know what that is to tell you about it, but that's okay because it doesn't really work all that well anyway. By the time I had picked out the glitter, which really wasn't that long at all, the stickles had already dried. I guess spreading it out that way made it a lot drier than I normally think of stickles. Usually stickles takes a long time to dry, but apparently once you spread it out, it dries really quickly. So I had actually, so we took this picture a week and a half ago at this point, and the very next day I printed the picture and I pulled aside papers that I was planning on using. And then I walked away from it. I had planned to actually scrap the day after I pulled out the pictures and the papers. I was just too exhausted after work to do anything. So now I'm getting to this and everything is a big surprise. So the journaling is something that I did the day I scrapped this. The title is something that I did the day that I scrapped this. The only thing that I remember wanting to do was use a circle in the layout, and that's what this is. I'm using the Heidi Swap tool, and I don't think this is something that's still available. I think it's really old, but using the Heidi Swap razor tool just to mess up the edges, and then some Prima ink to bring out the edge of that. I really like that ink. It's really easy to hold. I'm a late comer to that, and I'm glad that I finally been introduced to it. So the day this picture was taken was the night before Maggie went back to school, and we went out to dinner kind of one last time. And before we headed out, Carrie took a picture of the two of us, and she's got her orange RIT shirt, and I've got my orange sweater in my hand just because I know restaurants tend to get cold, and that's one of my sweaters that I tend to pick up frequently. So I knew the color scheme that I wanted to use would have lots of oranges in it, but I also decided that I wanted to use lots of other colors just to keep it bright and fun and youthful. Um, so that's how I'm coming up with my colors for this one. I used the paper from a paper pad to do the Every New Beginning title. Not in love with the way it looks or the way it manipulates. I really prefer to use cardstock for titles, but it just carried the color scheme a little bit. In the end, it's not so bad. I've also determined that the word beginning is just too damn long. It needs one less N in it. I know that I'm going to lose that battle. It is what it is, but it's just a really hideously long layout or long word for layouts. I contemplated curving the title on this. You can actually do this in the Silhouette software so that it has the curve in it. See how new is flat? And I can't bend it, so I can't put it on the edge of the circle because it'll just look like a tangent line. And had I wanted to, I could have done that in the Silhouette software, but I didn't really think about it. So I kind of try on this positioning, but I don't think that makes well, I know the end of this story. Spoiler alert, that's not how it ends up in the end of it. So the You and Me actually came from Freckled Fawn, a friend of mine. Hi, Kathleen. Signed up for their kit club, got it and went, what was I thinking? I don't use this kind of stuff. Promptly picked out a couple of things that she liked and sent the rest to me, and I am eternally grateful for that because there's some really fun stuff in there. So that's what that's from. The Heart and Soul banner is from the Scraptastic kit. When times were better, I signed up for both the Scraptastic kit and Studio Calico. I've since, well, I think that I've let both of them lapse. We'll see what happens with Studio Calico this month. I really like getting new stuff, like don't we all? But ultimately, when I get it, I end up being a little bit disappointed because a lot of the stuff is stuff that I wouldn't pick out for myself to use, and then I feel really wasteful. Um, it's a catch-22 because I don't have a local scrapbook store. And I have a Joann's Fabrics, and I have a place called Pat Catan's that's local here in Ohio, and it does okay, but it really doesn't have the neat stuff. It just has, again, you know what Joann's has, and Pat Catan's has just a little tiny bit more, I think, or maybe just a little bit tiny bit different, not more or less necessarily. So I did like the Kit Club for the idea that I would still be able to get that premium stuff, but it's not the premium stuff that I would pick. And unfortunately, I'm just not one of those people who can be given a pile of papers and just make it work. Like I wish I were. I'm really envious of the ladies who get these kits and just make it all work. To me, I really have to like something to want to make it work. So, but I am getting a lot of use out of different things. I just feel like there's a lot of stuff that I won't ever use. So like this clear plastic frame is something that came in a Scraptastic kit, and I did get use out of that. So I think it's funny. I said in my last video that I really didn't think I'd like this tape, and here I am using it again. I thought I better really try it out before I make my final decision that I like the ATG gun more. And at this point, I don't know. It's a crapshoot. I like them both. So I see a lot of scrapbookers just use a pair of scissors to cut off that excess piece that hangs over. I can't do that. So I turn it over and I use my fingernail. I put my fingernail in the groove of the trimmer, and then I butt the cardstock up against that. And then when I make the cut, it goes straight down and cuts exactly where I need it to. So that's my trick for that. I couldn't possibly use a pair of scissors. It would end up chunking right out of the cardstock and make me crazy. So this washi tape did come from the Studio Calico kit, and I absolutely adore this. I really like circles in general. I think they have fun symbology to them, but I love the rainbow colors. There's just something about that I just really dig. So I'm using my Silhouette Scraper tool just to curl up the bottom of that banner a little bit, just to give it a little bit of lift and dimension. On that gray sheet of pattern paper, the one thing that was really important that stood out was the work hard. So I managed to position everything else so I wasn't covering up those words. Maggie came home from the summer. She got straight A's last semester again. She worked like crazy at Ruby Tuesdays, and then when she wasn't at work, she was scouring Craigslist for furniture because she was getting a new apartment. Like, this is her first apartment. She's moving off campus, saving us a boatload of money by doing that. And so she managed to find a dining room table and 4 chairs, huge, really nice condition for $50. And then she sanded that down and refinished it just because she wanted to make it her own. It would have been perfectly fine as it was. But she just, all summer long, she was very focused. She's a great saver. She had a really good method for how she was spending money and how she was saving money. She's got 2 months of rent saved up and set aside just in case something happens where her dad has issues and can't pay it. She saved up a couple of months worth of her utility payments so that she has that going. So she's really kind of got this contingency plan that, just in case things don't go well, she's set, which I think is great. So this XO was part of a Studio Calico kit, and I thought it was just kind of paper. It's not. It's like a metal thing. So I didn't know how to attach it, so I pulled out my tiny attacher and stapled it. I was a little worried that I would misstaple and end up just mangling my photo, but it worked out really good. So that was great. These are some stickers that I actually never thought I would end up using from the Scraptastic kit, but that orange is absolutely perfect. So that's going down. This is a 2 peas in a bucket flare. I really wanted to get that butterfly used, but well, to be honest, everything is really large on this layout already, but to be honest, the big stopper was I didn't feel like going to get my Cuttlebug, so that was why that didn't end up getting used. So I'm using the Heidi Swap stickers here, and I really love the fact that they're on the clear plastic backing, so I could see exactly where I wanted to put it and make certain I liked the way it looked, which is one of my big beefs with stickers. How do I know if it's going to fit? How do I know what it's going to look like there? So the clear black backing was great, except for, boy, I could not, it just stuck to me. And every time I took it off of one hand, it would stick to the other hand. So that's why I had to pull out the ruler and attach it to that, because otherwise this stuff, the letters for this were getting all mangled. As it is, the bottom of the T is kind of lifting off the page, and you'll see me take the tiny attacher and add a couple of staples. So I just sprinkled some sequins about, and I'm using where they landed as where I'm going to go ahead and glue them down. I'm using the glossy accents, and I don't know if you noticed, I had that Bella Boulevard pin in the top of it. That was one of the tricks that I learned at Archivers. You know, when you put the top on the glossy accents, the, the glue tends to dry up in the neck, and it makes it difficult to come out. If you use the pin, it keeps the glue from hardening up in the neck area. So I had to start it on a separate piece of paper so that when it came out, I didn't end up with a big glop that wouldn't have been covered by the sequin. But other than that, it flows a lot more freely and without any kind of, I don't have to wrestle with it. I don't have to go find a pin or a pick to get it flowing again. So I like that. These are SEI buttons that I think I bought in like 2007, and I still have a ton of them. I think they're beautiful. I'm just not good at using buttons. Typically, I feel like I have to put a piece of twine in there, and that's an awful lot of work for my kind of scrapbooking. So I tend to avoid it in general. Now, I turned off the camera, and I missed the fact that I went through and put all these stickles in there, and I really do like the way that looks. The little heart and soul banner, some more stickles. And then the layout as a whole. I don't love the layout, and I might talk about that part in my blog post, so stop over and visit. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.